All right, Kiefer Zang, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Is that how I say your name, Kiefer Zang?
Yep, Kiefer Zang.
Okay, Kiefer Zang. I love the name Kiefer, by the way. It's a classic name. Like Kiefer Sutherland, is that right?
Yep, I'm glad
Okay.
some famous person can make my
Well,
name recognizable.
No, it's a very cool name. Well, thank you for making the time. I appreciate it. As I told you, the audience wants to hear from folks who have done more than simply talk about NFTs. And you're in there, you're in the arena doing things. So my first question to you is, tell me about why are you interested in NFTs and what do you do in that space?
Yeah, so I would say that my interest in NFTs started probably before NFTs even existed. So back in 2014, I was really into trading game items. So stuff on Steam like Counter-Strike, Team Fortress 2. And when I was doing that, I saw all sorts of problems. So, for example, I couldn't sell the items for real money without a really high chance of getting scammed or having to pay really high middleman fees. There were issues with items being duplicated. Steam could just arbitrarily set trading restrictions that could delay things by weeks. And at any time, I could have my account banned and lose everything with no recourse. So I really didn't feel like I had control over these assets and my participation in this game that I loved.
Yeah.
And
so what were you, I'm sorry to interrupt you. So what were you selling or buying? What was the transaction about?
yeah, so these would be maybe cosmetic weapon skins or hats in games, sort of these is maybe a more known comparison would be like in Fortnite, your skins that you would have. So sort of these things that improve your game experience and help on kind of the social interaction side.
Okay, I got it. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so I had my eye on Bitcoin and crypto around the same time, but as kind of development continued to increase in the blockchain space with Ethereum coming around, I started to realize the potential future implications of trading digital assets on a blockchain and smart contracts, and really decided to direct my career towards these virtual economies, and with the realization that these virtual economies will have NFTs at their heart. So I had my eye on NFTs around early 2018. And I realized how important they were because they allow you to truly own your virtual items and trade them securely without needing a middleman, and solving a lot of the other problems I saw with my own experience trading those game items. And I think that these key features of NFTs around true ownership they'll get more and more important as we move towards a world where we have augmented reality, virtual reality, gaming getting more popular, and we're continually spending more time within the virtual world and interacting in virtual spaces. This extends to social media as well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And to kind of circling back to where I am now, I currently work as a token economics consultant at Economics Design, where I help AAA quality game studios design essentially all the economic components of their project. And so this can involve the NFTs, the fungible tokens. And then also on the side, I founded NFT Trading Academy, which is a community for sharing information about NFT trading. And it's a great place to start for if you're new to the NFT space, or even if you've been around for a little bit but want to improve your information around NFTs.
Wow. Okay. And so how does one go? Where does one go for the academy?
Yeah, you can look up nfttradingacademy.com and also just get, you can also look at my Twitter, Kiefer Zang, Kiefer Zang.
We will have a page just for this interview, by the way. So we'll put all this information there, so that folks can take advantage. And so I'm interested by in this academy. So what would I besides? I guess it's important for me to be amongst fellow travelers, right? So that's important. But what would I learn there?
Yeah, so on our website, we have a lot of guides about essentially how to start NFT trading, what kind of background knowledge you need, what to look for when buying an NFT, when you might want to sell it. And then if you go in our Discord, so our website is it's free. Anyone can access that kind of background information. And then we have a paid Discord where we have kind of more updated guides on the current NFT releases from different projects, drop guides, all of that.
Okay, well, I think my customers are going to go over at the academy and get educated. So that's great. That's fantastic. I think it's a needed resource. It's a needed resource for folks who want to learn. And do you have to have the technical knowledge to to start like learning, or like how technical background do you need to have?
I would say you don't need a technical background. Probably the biggest stumbling block to getting started with NFTs is setting up a MetaMask wallet.
Yep.
You need to set up a wallet to purchase NFTs or in crypto really on Ethereum. But it's not as big of a hurdle as some people might think. And
yep.
And I'm always happy to help anyone who has questions on the setup process there.
Yeah, well, it's wonderful. And I was thinking about the academy itself, the material there so that somebody can go and start sort of consuming it. And does one need to have technical background, or they can just start? And I want let's say I know nothing. I want to start learning, and I say I want to learn how to, trade NFTs. Does it, for example, does it include step one, get yourself a wallet, kind of information like baseline?
Yeah. Have kind of that baseline info, and then also a lot of staff members who are happy to answer beginner level questions.
That's great. Okay, well, that's wonderful. I think I've landed a partner, hopefully, with you and the academy. So I was telling you that the folks on our platform, we're about to launch it. Actually, this platform, it's a marketplace, it's a full marketplace focused exclusively on audio NFTs. And as I was telling you, the folks who are into audio NFTs are artists, audio artists, right? Musicians, comedians. We have comedians as well. Anybody who makes a living from their voice talents. All these folks, they've stumbled upon the notion that artists are monetizing. Most of these artists are monetizing their visual art, right? And so sort of the audio community feels like second-class citizens when it comes to NFTs, and sort of we're hoping to help our customers. We have been in audio forever, and so it made sense for us to get into audio NFTs as well. But let's get back to you, since you're the guy who knows about this, and you've been doing this since 2018, so that's a long time in the the timeline of NFTs, right? NFTs started sometime 2014, right? Like the beginnings of it, 15, something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of murky with the different definitions of NFTs.
Yeah.
It kind of depends on where you set the marker. But yeah, NFTs on Ethereum kind of started like late 2017. Okay. But earlier things on Bitcoin and Namecoin potentially could go back. You could trace back as far as 2014.
Yeah, wonderful. So here's the thing about NFTs. For let's call me and people like me, like regular folks, right? And you like advanced folks, right? So for folks like me, I remember when I heard about NFTs, just like when I heard about Twitter, it was like my reaction was, this is nonsense, right? Um, doesn't make sense at all, right? But since then I have read a lot, and I have come to understand that there is actually something really, um, that it solves some real concrete problems for real and effectively. And I think it's also within the ethos where we're going, which is decentralization of a lot of things, right? Instead of the middleman being there, providing no value really, or just, you know, bilking folks for being there, right? And you know, the banks who make money just because they are there, right? You know, the crypto is taking, you know, solving that problem. Anyway, so I'm becoming very, very much of, I'd say, a person who is rationally supportive of this project. But there are a lot of folks out there who just like, this is a scam, right? What would be the first thing you'd say to them to say, give it, why don't you just invest a little bit more time to find out about it, because it is worthwhile? What would you say? What would you say? How would you get them to that sort of, you know, frame of mind?
Yeah. So I would say that NFTs are fundamentally a new technology. And the resulting products that you're getting building off of that technology are going to range widely in quality, really depending on how it's used. And I'd make the comparison of where NFTs are today to the internet in the late 90s. So, really, the vast majority of NFTs today honestly have no utility and little artistic merit and are probably massively overvalued. And so, these kind of low quality NFT projects are likely to crash hard at some point, and much like a lot of companies did coming out of the dot-com bubble. And a lot of the skeptics kind of look at just these low quality projects and think that's all NFTs are. That's the limit of what NFT technology can do. And then they kind of miss the underlying potential there, because there are high quality projects that are getting built, but that takes time. It's the low quality stuff that you can churn out immediately based on how new the NFT space is. And in the long run, we're going to see just massively successful companies be built around NFT technology, much like we saw Amazon and eBay come out on top in the long run after the dot-com bubble. And so, just like with the internet, a lot of these early applications may not be successful, but eventually the underlying NFT technology will be ubiquitous.
I love that. I mean, I'm surprised. I mean, you probably were not even born in 1999 or something, right? You're young, right? But
I actually was born in 99.
99, right? So for you, this is history. But I was there. I mean, I lived that, and there was so much crap, right? Because people didn't know what this thing is. There was a lot of skepticism. I remember that. Like, what you want me to do to put my credit card in the website? No way, I will never do that. And so if you say that it will always be the case that nobody's going to put their credit card on the internet would not exist as we know it, right? So that was really a bad assumption that we made. And so I'm impressed that you actually made a comparison between the hype back then, because it was crazy. People, actually, the VCs, I remember, the VCs, they would give you money only if your idea was crazy. I'm not kidding. They would not give you, if like, I'm going to build a business and here's the revenue stream and here's the business model. It was, the frame of one was such that everything was radical. And even if you had the traditional anything, a traditional business plan, a traditional logo, like, you're 1.0, we're looking for 2.0. So therefore, that hype, and I think whoever got hurt by that bubble deserved it, because there was so much hype and crap and so on. So I'm glad that you made that comparison, because people can relate to that. And I think the same thing with Twitter, the same thing with social. Everybody was like, it's not going to go anywhere. There's no value. And it turned out that we couldn't imagine. Um, but so how would you, so this person they would hear you say that, and they would say, okay, so you're telling me that once upon a time or many times in the past, there were things that were hype-ish, and they turn out to be actually not hype. But there are also things that were hype and they were hype, right? How would you differentiate between hype that turned into something and hype that was just hype, right?
Yeah,
What
I
would
would
you
look
what
at what
problem
are
would you?
the
I'm sorry. What would you point to a specific problem that this solves? Go ahead. I interrupted you.
just kind of on that previous point. I would say look heavily at the long-term potential of any particular project that's utilizing NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
Is there real utility being discussed here? Is there a
Mm-hmm.
solid team behind it? Um, and kind of evaluating it as a company of do they have solid long-term vision and do you think that they can deliver on it? And to set your risk expectations accordingly. And if you're and just recognize that if you're buying something from an anonymous team that's just a profile picture NFT, that you are looking at a very high risk profile with a really good chance that it won't be there in the long run.
Yeah.
But if you're doing something that you think has um, a good chance of providing some real value to people with a solid team and a long-term vision, and that's something that's much more likely to stick around, continue to build, and really be providing value and pushing the space forward in the future.
Okay. So um, NFTs, as I was saying, and I think we were talking before the call, we started the session, is part of an ethos, I think, a zeitgeist, right, of decentralized world, right, where the middleman is no longer as essential. And so that's where I think a lot of folks, I'm including myself, want to go. We want to go to that world, right, where we transact directly. Do you think that trust, because there's a lot of trust that needs to happen for this thing to be real? Do you think that established companies are going to leverage their brand to sort of stick themselves again in the middle and be the places where people go to buy NFTs? Let's say, for example, I don't know, Capital One starts issuing NFTs and Capital One here to stay. And so, you go buy from Capital One, you go buy and trade Capital One stuff, right? How do we get away from this? Is again going back to having the middleman now, interfering with this beautiful thing that's emerging. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I don't see it as there's going to be only going towards marketplaces and use cases that are run by large companies, or only going towards the same kind of the equivalent things but run by a collection of small users. I think we're going to see both of these happening. Like, for example, looking at metaverses, which is a pretty broad concept, but we see Facebook coming in with their rebrand of Meta. They're going hard into the creation of kind of these digital spaces, which will have NFTs as a component. But we're also having kind of these decentralized metaverses. You can look at Sandbox, Decentraland, that are much more focused on being driven by a community of users and owners. And so I think we'll see kind of the split, and different types of users will probably be split into these kind of different sides. Some of the mainstream adoption will probably still end up going to the larger companies just because they have a greater reach. But in the long run, I think we will move towards a lot more adoption of moving towards these communities that are kind of run by the users themselves.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. I hope so. But I think there's enough energy, it seems, out there for things to go that way. Okay. So my last question to you is, can you share? I know you're into metaverse, you're into digital stuff and so on, but can you share like a concrete example where a person who is not like into games and doesn't buy shields and all that, but wants to use NFTs? How can one someone do you have an example of a concrete NFT use case? Would be the question.
Yeah, I think that the mainstream use case of NFTs that is going to hit like the widest mainstream audience first is going to be through event ticketing. So currently you need to go through a centralized market like Ticketmaster or StubHub, and they're going to charge you high fees in order to buy or sell tickets. Fake tickets are a big issue as well if you go outside their transaction service. And NFTs can be used for tickets, which if you do that, then you can safely trade tickets directly with another person without needing to tap into that expensive middleman service. And you can verify if a ticket is real. So tickets nowadays, like we don't really do paper tickets anymore. So tickets are already a digital asset. And if you make them NFTs, then you can prove that you own a ticket. And you can also prove that that ticket came from the event creator. That it's not a fake. And you can trade it securely in one step with another person. So you don't have the situation where somebody has to send the money first, or someone has to send the ticket first, and hope the other person sends the other side back. And that's probably going to be, and on the back end, that's done like trading through cryptocurrency, like a stable coin, but that can pretty easily be abstracted away. And so you can have a mainstream adoption of people just being able to trade tickets securely directly to another person, cutting out the middleman, and having better idea of that this is a real ticket and that they're not going to get scammed.
Okay. So let's just take that example. I like that example because I think everybody can relate to it. Let's say there's an event. Let's say we with Lingo have an event, right? So Lingofest, okay? It's an event, and let's say it happens. We have a special week, let's say in March, and we want to sell tickets, right? So what would I want to think through and visualize the user experience, both us as the users and then the ticket buyers. How would we, with Lingo staff, with Lingo, how would we go about? Would we tokenize the tickets? What would we do?
Yeah, so I think there would be there's probably going to be some company that sets up a specific wallet app that's sort of targeted towards this use case. And within that app, you have your wallet, and you verify that this is you. This is the wallet that you own. And then you, as the event creator, would issue tickets as NFTs, and then users could buy them off your website. They sign in with their wallet. They fill up their wallet with. They could probably just deposit dollars, but on the back end, that's kind of transferred to a stable coin.
Sure.
Then when they purchase, so they just click on buy your ticket. Then that stable coin is sent to you. You send them the ticket NFT. And then if they realize, oh, I can't go to this anymore, I want to sell this ticket to somebody else, they don't need to go through a marketplace. They could just say, hey, I want to sell this ticket for, I don't know, $100. And someone else was like, okay, I'll buy that. And then they can just, through the app, make that trade. Nobody has to go first. They've just traded between themselves, no middleman fees paid. And now this other person has an NFT ticket that they know that will get them into the event, because they can see the trail of ownership on the blockchain that this did come from. Witlingo was the one that issued this NFT, so they know it's real. And so then they can go up to your event, show their wallet. You could scan that NFT, maybe it's like a barcode, and now they know, and then now they can get in. They've safely transferred it between multiple people, and in the process, you didn't have to go through Ticketmaster or anything like that.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's an excellent example. I think people can see that, right? You can visualize that, and then so the stuff that's happening behind the scenes that can be abstracted, because that's what they stumble on, that stuff, right? Like, the Ethereum is the currency, and all that is, at some point will just be behind the scenes, just like the internet and the web, HTTPS and all that, and the protocols. Nobody needs to know about any of that to be able to use the web, right? I think that's where we're gonna get. This is a great example. What are your next steps right now? You are growing your academy, I'm assuming, right? And What's
Yeah.
like by the end of this 2022, where do you think you're going to be with the NFT initiatives?
Yeah. So I'm working on kind of growing the NFT Trading Academy, but my main focus is actually on the consulting side, and I'm really trying to help push forward the blockchain game space and improving these different game economies and how gamers will be able to potentially earn from playing, or at least really own their assets, and just continuing to help these really high quality game studios get into the space so that we can have an overall better ecosystem.
Perfect. Kiefer Zang, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did
And
you?
actually,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll give one last takeaway here as kind of a
Please,
summary.
please.
That NFTs are really the key technology that allows for ownership of digital content. So this is going to create a fundamental shift in how musicians monetize their songs, social media content creators can earn from their work, digital artists can sell their art, and the gamers can benefit from the games they play. So it's a move towards the next stage of the internet, and users and creators can better capture the benefits of the value that they help create.
Yeah, and I think as you were saying that, I was thinking of, I've seen a lot of folks who are middlemen, like I don't know, Spotify guys, like, oh no, this is not going to work, this is all crap, right? So there are a lot of people who are interested in keeping the status quo, who are pushing back because it's disturbing and disrupting the, in a meaningful way, the middleman paradigm. But yeah, well, thank you for that summary, by the way. And again, thank you for making the time. I appreciate it, Kiefer.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
You bet. Thanks a lot.
All right.